Welcome to the Brain Over Binge podcast, where you learn a simple, brain-based approach to ending binge eating. I'm Katherine Hansen, your host. I'm here to help you stop binge eating so that you can just eat and live your life without this problem getting in the way. In the past several episodes, I've mentioned my free 30-day Brain Over Binge inspiration booklet, which you can use for daily motivation. I also want to tell you that with that inspiration booklet, you can also get a free 10-minute audio track from the Brain Over Binge course titled Manage Your Mindset After a Binge. Most people who attempt recovery have times where they do slip into acting on the habitual urges, but the key is to get right back to normal eating and get right back to dismissing urges afterward, and not let one binge spiral into more binges. The Manage Your Mindset After a Binge audio track will help you with getting back to having success and moving toward a completely binge-free life. You can get both of those resources through the same link in the show description. You'll just enter your email address and I'll send them to your inbox. I have a guest on the show today to talk about balancing the body and developing a more holistic view of your body that allows you to honor yourself. Her name is Nidhi Pandya, and she is an Ayurvedic doctor, a teacher, coach, speaker, and the author of the new book, Your Body Already Knows. In her work, Nidhi distills the ancient wisdom of Ayurveda, which is the science of life, into its essential principles, and she encourages people to align their bodies with the cycles of the world around us. Today we'll talk about many topics related to health and food from this Ayurvedic perspective, primarily focusing on the 3 doshas, which are biological energies that make up the human body. As a bit of a backstory and setup for this conversation, I want to let you know that I wrote a brief blog post on this general topic years ago while I was studying at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, and we were learning about Ayurveda as part of the curriculum. As I learned about the 3 doshas that we'll talk about in the conversation today, I thought it provided such a helpful perspective for explaining our individuality, especially when it comes to our body. Ayurveda honors our individuality in terms of how the body shows up as its healthiest self, which is something that can often be missing in Western approaches, which tend to suggest that there is one ideal version of a healthy body. The blog post I wrote was titled Challenge Cultural Body Messages with Ayurveda, and I've linked it in the show description if you're interested in reading it. I believe that drawing from other cultural perspectives can help you challenge limiting beliefs within yourself and help you change how you view your physical makeup and help you overcome body image issues. Nidhi's perspective that she will share today provides such a kind, compassionate, as well as a biologically sound framework for approaching health and taking care of our own bodies. And I'm really excited for you to hear what she has to say. As you'll listen, know that you can apply what makes sense to you and then use this as a launching point for learning more about your own unique body and your unique needs, especially during recovery from binging. And now I'll go ahead and share our conversation. Hi, Nidhi. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Catherine. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, I'm really excited to talk with you. I think it's going to provide a useful perspective, really an alternative perspective to all of my listeners about health and just a new way to approach body image, weight, eating. We're going to talk about so much. So I just want to get started by, you can tell the audience a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm Nidhi. I'm Nidhi Pandya. I'm an Ayurvedic doctor and I live in New York. And Ayurvedic approach, which is ancient Indian medicine, commonly known as ancient Indian medicine, is often today taught academically and practiced prescriptively. My work is to really go back into what Ayurveda originally was, which is it is a full, complete lifestyle, nutrition, as well as treatment science. So it does all 3, disease, nutrition, lifestyle prevention, all of it. It's a very holistic science. And the work that I do is I teach Ayurveda all around the world, but in a non-academic manner, more like a first language, more intuitive. And I teach and I practice principle-based Ayurveda rather than prescriptive Ayurveda. So really respecting who you are, what your patterns are. And I work with my clients so that they can understand what they're doing and they don't just have prescriptions written out on a paper for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's a completely different approach to medicine that may be new to my listeners. And could you just sort of explain the difference between Ayurvedic medicine and then what we may be more familiar with in conventional or Western medicine?
Absolutely. So one of the primary differences of Ayurveda is that Ayurveda doesn't believe in just treatment of a condition. It believes in the healing of the whole person. So if you come to me and you come with, hey, listen, I have PCOS and that's what I want to fix, chances are that you'll be going back home with a complete understanding of your body, a complete different, unique understanding of your body, why the condition arose in the first place, and how do you start living so that not only do you eliminate that one condition that you're experiencing, but feel better overall. You have better sleep, you have better skin, you have better hair, you have better digestion, you have better moods. So it really focuses on understanding that the imbalance comes from a deeper place. And Ayurveda says that there's 6 stages of a disease before it actually manifests into a condition. So we try and identify that where did this begin? And where else is it showing up? Else is this disease creating pathways? And then we use lifestyle, we use nutrition, we use herbs, spices, breath. I'll use everything that you possibly interact with in your life on a daily basis to create more healing rather than to create more disease.
Yeah, that's amazing. Just that more holistic approach that I could be very healing to people, especially the people I work with who are trying to stop binge eating, trying to develop a healthy relationship with their bodies. And a big reason I wanted you to come on the show is really to talk about the body, and how to develop a healthier relationship with it and with food. And I think Ayurveda offers such a helpful perspective there because I think sometimes in Western culture, we get taught, okay, you need to be this one specific body type, and that's what you're aiming for. And that means you're healthy, and that means you're doing something right. Whereas I think in Ayurvedic medicine, there's more of a holistic approach, and like everyone is different. And the concept of bio individuality is important. So I would love to dive into that a little bit. And maybe as an initial question, like, how do you see a healthy body, or how do you kind of view the body as a whole?
That's a really great question. So how do you see a healthy body in terms of when I look at somebody, and I think there are 4 or 5 things that you want to see whether there's any disease pathway that's been created in your body. And few of those test markers are you sleeping well? Are you having a bowel movement every single day in the morning? Right? So those, if you have answered those 2 yes already, you're great. Are your hormonal cycles, especially for women, are your menstrual cycles regular? Do you have energy throughout the day? And it's important, believe it or not, it's important for you to start feeling a slightly tired by the evening, which means that you're not overstimulated. So can you wind down correctly? Do you have consistent moods? And then lastly, is your weight fluctuating a lot? Or is your weight steady? So if you can have steady weight, if you can have bowel movements in the AM, you can boast about deep, long sleep, at the appropriate hours. You can have regular menstrual cycles. And you have energy, which feels great in the day, peaks in the afternoon. And then you start to feel that sweet tiredness by the evening. Then your body is following all its cycles and it's running right.
Yeah, I love that you're measuring it by different indicators. Are you sleeping? Are your hormones balanced? And that just gives people a different perspective or a way to think about health. And how does weight kind of come into the equation in Ayurvedic medicine?
Right. So the chances are that if your body is building excessively, right, which means it's building excessive tissue, and it's blocking something where like it's not always tissue, right? People who have excesses in their body, it will show up in different ways, and usually it'll show up as yes, excess tissue, the easiest to see, so fluctuating weight, but also it will show up as bowel movements which are not very, very regular, the desire to just keep sleeping, extreme fatigue in the middle of the day. So already you've gone off on the checklist, right? So when somebody's off on the checklist, now my job is to investigate where is this coming from? Is it a problem of building? And really all problems are classified into 3 main areas in Ayurveda. One is a building problem, one is a depletion problem. And just as I said, like this is how this is how the markers would look different on a building problem. The markers on a depletion problem would look like absence of periods, just not being able to sleep, always overstimulated, waking up super early, even if you get sleep, you wake up super early. So already so moist skin is also important. Moist skin is a great marker. And somebody who's very depleted will not have moist skin. So already you've already gone off the mark. So already on my checklist, I'm like, hey, we need to talk. And then I may identify that, hey, your body is not being nourished well enough. For somebody who's building, I may identify that your body is being overnourished. Or, and overnourishment is not just through food, to be honest with you. Overnourishment can just be through lack of exercise, could just be through through being sedentary. The first thing that I go to, Catherine, when it comes to body and food, right? Because it's such a big part of our physical body is we eat. But what we don't realize and what we never talk about is that we all come into the world having this lovely, nourishing relationship with food because we all eat from our mother's breast. And it is so warm, it is so cozy, we're so present, it's so safe, right? I mean, fortunately, it's fortunate if you are able to do that, right? But even if you're not nursing from the breast, but nursing from the bottle, a baby is always held really close when a baby is being fed, most of us have that privilege. So, and then somewhere along the way, that relationship with food starts changing. And of course, this starts very early on, right? Little baby cries here, just give the baby something to eat, a toddler something in their mouth. But the reminder is that we can always go back to that safe relationship that we started with at our mother's breast, that kind. And we remember that that is how we're supposed to eat. So present, so safe, and so secure. And that there are ways for us to definitely get back there. But yes, the ideal weight would be the weight in which you can actually manage to check off all these boxes. You're doing fine. If you're getting your cycles, if you're having a bowel movement every day, if you're getting sweetly tired by the evening, you're being able to sleep. And I sometimes do use the BMI as a starting point, not as an ending point, but as a starting point for some people to see when you're just like really not, when you're really confused. And most often it works, you're in that fair range. You probably are doing all, and you're eating right, you're living right. Chances are you're great, you're fine.
Again, I like how you measure health and a healthy body against these ideas of, are you sleeping or is your hormones balanced? Because someone could be an ideal perfect BMI according to cultural standards and then be completely off in their sleeping, not getting periods. I see that all the time. People artificially maintaining a weight that's too low for their unique body. And coming back to that concept of bioindividuality, can you explain like the doshas, which are that biological energy, and I know you'll be able to explain it better than me, but how each of those doshas has a certain body type, that can be associated with it. And I think again that could provide a helpful perspective on body image.
Absolutely. And so, Catherine, again, I'm going to explain doshas differently, right? Because it is so the idea of doshas are that, firstly, all bodies have a certain ability to maintain homeostasis, right? But that being said, depending on what we are carrying from our genetic frameworks, depending on what happened in the womb, and depending on the lifestyles and consumption that we've adopted as humans once we are born, your body may have different tendencies from my body. And there are three dominant tendencies that people seem to have. Which is called the kapha dosha, are the builders. Their body is building more than it's transforming or declining, which we'll get into. So people whose body, so kapha dosha is the tendency is to continue to build. So they'll build more tissue. They're born usually like with nice big eyes, with a nice nose, big full lips, lots of hair, because everything is an overproduction in their body. So their tendency, so they may eat the same amount of food as somebody who's not kapha, but they may put on extra weight with it. Some of the other signs of being in that building category are that it's harder for you to move, even though you may need it the most. You may want to sleep longer than others, even though your body should ideally, it's healthy for you to get stimulated, but it's harder for you to get stimulated. You like your comfort zones. You like the same people. You like to do the same activities. You may like hoarding. You may like keeping things safe to you because everything in your life is about building, like keeping, storing, protecting, saving. And in a relationship as well, you may just be very, very loyal. You may, my joke is kafas stay in relationships sometimes long after their expiration date because you just like that safety, comfort zone, security, right? But you're always building and protecting. That's the kapha personality. You're in your body, you're protecting tissue, you're holding on to it, and in your personality as well. The second category, which is pitta dosha, I say their body is constantly on this metabolic transformation, constantly. Their minds are active and hot. Their digestion is super hot. They may eat something and have a bowel movement right away. They may go 3 times a day, and others, the constipated world is jealous of them that, oh my God, like you have this, but they may have heat and burning in their digestion. They may indulge in spicy foods, but they'll have strong reactions. They may have a lot of skin conditions. These are people who we look at and be like, you eat really, you eat a lot, but you don't seem to have problems. They're also very sharp in their personality. They're very focused. They may even burn out, and they may also burn their relationships out if they don't tame their pitta. Right? So that is the second category of people. The third category of people is vata, so decline and decay and decline movement. It's associated with movement and decline. So everything in the body is moving very, very rapidly. So your tissue, before your tissue can stick, it's out of your system. The food is out of your system before it can really build tissue. They can be overly depleted. They are the ones who cannot, their periods may even be missing because their body may not have the tissue to actually create that lining. They may have dry skin. Their nervous system does not have the protective insulation that's called myelin sheath. So their nervous system may be helter-skelter all over the place. So that is the depleted population of the world. And very often now our lifestyles are leaning towards that in our attempt to maintain a certain physique. People, it's possible that you may not be born that way, but you may have gone that way because of excessive harsh dieting, lack of good fats, like a lack of sleep, overproductivity, or a lot of anxiety that can all get you towards that depletion. So there are three. Ideally, it is possible, no matter what you're born as, it is possible to come back to a center, to have a certain balance where your body, yes, it may be harder for a builder to let go, to shed. But ideally, all of us want to work towards identifying what is my tendency, so I know that I can work harder to undo it. So ideally, you want to be building and transforming, and the movement and the decay to happen at an appropriate rate. So which means you're eating food, you want tissue to be built, you want the digestion, the metabolic activity to happen well, and then you want the elimination to happen well as well. So these three cycles exist everywhere in nature, and we all have all of them, but the builders will build extra. The metabolizers, or the, hot bodies will metabolize quicker and faster, and they'll all have everything is hot in their system. And the movement and decline for things, the nervous system is moving, their body is moving, they're fidgety, food moves out of their system, and that will happen quicker. But if it happens at an appropriate rate, you're maintaining homeostasis. And once you identify your tendency, then you must overcompensate in the other categories to make sure that you're achieving optimum balance. So if, for example, I'm just going to give you an example just to make it clear. So if your body is the movement decline and depleted, really that catabolic body, what it means is that you want to sleep a little extra, you want to nourish yourself a little bit more, you want to rest more. For people who are in that category, I often say, like, but my body doesn't need sleep, I'm good with 5 hours. You're actually so overstimulated that it's hard for you to build sleep hormone. Your serotonin cannot become melatonin effectively, and it wakes you up very quickly. The truth is, you need to adopt more practices so your body can start to build and rest and repair, because it is so much in this depletion phase that it's not being able to build and repair. They're very easy tools, they're very easy mechanisms. You don't have to always do it through food. You don't always have to. There's such a big, long list of an a la carte menu that you can pick from to start achieving balance.
Yeah, I love that. Learning to recognize your own strengths, your own weaknesses. And I think that comes with some body acceptance as well. Like you said, there's certain tendencies for the 3 doshas to be certain body types. It doesn't mean then you accept being unhealthy, right? Like you accept, oh, I'm just depleting. And no, you try to build that. You try to give yourself extra nourishment, things like that. So you see where your body may need to be brought into balance, and there's things you can do to bring it into balance while also accepting who you are and kind of your genetic makeup.
Absolutely. That's very, very well said. And then, also just accepting that, look, it's naturally hard for me. That's self-love, that's empathy to yourself, right? To say, listen, my body likes to build, and it's genuinely hard for my body to wake up in the morning and do this. And yet I want to, and I'm going to make the attempt to. But then, you stop shaming yourself because you understand that your body genuinely has a harder time than others.
Yeah. And to do your best to work with the tendencies that you have without all the shame. And I think, yeah, that just brings you so much more freedom to work with your body instead of against it.
So true. Absolutely.
What are some suggestions? Let's say someone's listening right now and they can identify that one of those doshas is more dominant in them, because as I understand it, all three are present. Like you said, all three are present in nature, all three are present in each person, but one or two may dominate. So let's say someone is, identifying with one of those doshas. What are some things they can do as far as eating? I know you mentioned some things like extra sleep, but for each one, what are some tips
Yeah.
that people can do to work with their body?
Absolutely. So the builders or the kapha dosha, firstly understand that, listen, you will have the tendency to hold on to things, to hold on to food, to hold on to your favorite place where you like to sit. So first, just accept it. You're built like that and it's okay. But because you're progress minded, because you're listening to this podcast, because you're thinking of change, these are few of the things that you can start with. I always say find something that inspires you to wake up in the morning. So even if the entire world is going to exercise and for you, you want to wake up and play some music and dance, do whatever is inspiring to you. So what would be the first beverage of your day? It would be hot water with a pinch of ginger. The body is cold and soggy for kaphas because it's just building. It's like a little damp. So you wake up, give yourself a hot cup of water with a pinch of ginger powder, a few pinches of ginger powder, get that stimulation going. And then find the exercise that you love to do the most. And I always say kaphas do very well. The builders do very well with dance. It may be hard for them to get them, get themselves there. But once they're into the music, once they're into it, it can start to help them a lot. Or you swim or you get on that spinning bike, but make it fun. If you don't make it fun, it will not last at all. You don't need a very big breakfast if you're a builder. Do a nice warm lunch. Whatever you want to eat, whatever you've indulged, whatever you want to indulge it, do it in this daytime when the sun is at its peak and your digestion is also at its peak because we are diurnal mammals. So eat your biggest meal at lunch and dream about it before you get there. Enjoy it, prepare your body for the fact that it's coming. I do tell kaphas and actually everybody to if sit and eat, don't eat on the go. Sit and eat your food. Kaphas also have this tendency, the builders love sugar. The body wants, it kind of attracts sugar a lot more. Do it in the daytime. This is a good time to do it. I tell all my kaphas builders that eat your sugar between the hours of 10 and 2. And if you can eat it every other day, it's even better. So the minute you've given yourself 1 day break in between, your body gets less addicted to sugar. But you can still fantasize about the next day. Say, hey, I still get a chance to eat it tomorrow, so I want to eat today. But so you're not depriving yourself. You want to start enjoying that idea. And then again, kafas to get all their work done between 2 p.m. and to start winding down in their day. So that's how their day would look like. Like I said, stimulate, wear different colors, leave your hair down, know that you have the tendency to hoard. So every time you buy something, give something else up. The lighter you make your environment, the lighter you start shedding. Instead of saving every book, saving every memorabilia, every picture, just let it go. Have a daily practice of letting something go in your life. Let it start outside of you. Let it start with the lowest hanging, something that you're least attached to, but start there. Start there and work your way. Your progress may be slower because kaphas are like cold milk. And if you've ever had to boil cold milk, it takes a while before it even starts to warm up. So be prepared, be patient with yourself. The second category, the metabolic, the fiery ones, everything, let's get it all done. Let's be very process oriented. Let's be productive. You're hot already, right? So the first thing you want to do is brace yourself. You wake up, firstly, you sleep to water sounds if you can. If you can sleep in a cool room, have white sheets, wear white clothing or light clothing. If you can play water sounds in the background, cool off your nervous system, get some moonlight, great for them, like actual moonlight. The moon has a very strong power to stimulate certain neurotransmitters. So go and get that, especially if you're very hot. It's a very cooling impact on the body. And then when you wake up, I say you wake up with a breathing practice, a slowing down breath practice for the pittas to practice active surrender. Their first beverage of the morning doesn't have to be so hot. Don't start with the black coffee. You're setting yourself up further on fire. You can have a cup of water with some mint leaves. If you want to keep it warm, great. If you don't, just plain, slow down and do it. Food not to be very spicy, not to be very fried, not to be very oily. You may feel that in terms of tissue, your body is forgiving, and you say, it's okay, I'm like moderate bodied, and you may think that way, but any hot, fiery foods is eating up your mucosal lining. For the pittas, it's very important to start winding down as the sun sets, because they can go on, they can become very, very. So I always say, if you're so hot, you want to have this lunar aspect to your day, that as the evening comes in, do something which is completely unproductive and purposeless. So draw for the sake of drawing, listen to music for the sake of listening to music, turn off that podcast. You don't need any more knowledge or information, So balance your time enough with productivity and rest and repair, and avoid spicy. The kapha should avoid heavy foods. The pitta should avoid spicy foods. The last category, which is movement and depletion, you just need a lot of TLC. You need to come back to loving your body, to loving yourself, to just honoring this precious gift that you have. Fats, good fats done in small doses, are your best friend. If you're scared to get them in through your mouth and digestive system, start oiling your body. This is Ayurveda's gift to the world, that your skin is a channel of consumption. And now there are all these beauty brands coming up with all these different oils, but your skin is a channel of consumption. And massaging yourself every single morning with a body oil, oil your scalp, anywhere, oil your feet before you go to sleep, get those good fats on you, slowly start getting those good fats in your body. You can afford to sleep in a little longer. Sleep is hard for you, but chances are if you start to sleep in a little 30, 40 minutes after sunrise, like 7:30, I'm not saying 11:30 a.m., I'm saying 7:30 a.m. If you can start doing that a little bit, you'll see that you'll actually end up sleeping deeper and longer and feel less anxious. They also need a lot of routine. Routine is the antidote to that depletion, because they are all over the place. They're helter-skelter. Their days may be anywhere, right? Because there's so much movement in their nervous system. Planning is hard for them. So at least have a predictable set of rituals that you can practice every single day, and include avocados, include sweet potatoes, include, a good grain, all these olive oil in small doses. Bring that into your body and start loving your body. And if you get nervous, remember that if you eat in the daytime, and if you have rituals and routines, and you give your body the memory of when it needs to digest food, the external clock and the internal clock are matching. And know that sometimes when you're depleted, you're scared of food. And I understand that. But you want to remember that the end of life is depletion. That's the last part of the last 20 years, 30 years for women. They're all drying and depleting. You don't want to start there sooner. And at that point, your body will pull into reserve fat. So you want to have some of that good lining around your thighs, around your hips. You want to keep some of that so it can serve as a reserve when it's needed.
That's all so helpful and enlightening and inspiring. I love how there's just different recommendations based on different type of person. I think it's so practical. And I teach a lot about individuality in terms of what you're eating. Like everyone's going to be so different. And some of what you're talking about explains why that's the case, right? Because we all made up so differently. And not only are there different sort of recommendations or tips as far as eating, but you went into a lot of lifestyle things as far as like how you can approach your day. And again, getting back to kind of Western or conventional medicine, they're like, okay, you should get up at this time and do this workout and eat this thing. And that's just not going to work for everyone. And I love this framework in the Ayurvedic perspective, just to give everyone that different way to look at things.
And kindness to yourself, right, is so important. Like kindness to your body, kindness to yourself. And kindness doesn't mean excessive lenience. Kindness just means accepting of the struggles you've had so far and willing to be inspired to shift something, whether it be slowly, whether it be rapidly, to honor your own pace. And the only way you can honor your own pace and the only way you can be inspired is by acceptance of what has happened so far.
Yeah, and I can imagine these doshas could set people up, let's say, for issues with food, like you talked about. Vata tends to be the depletion and maybe scared of food. That could set someone up for maybe overly restrictive dieting, kapha, maybe overindulging a little bit. So again, seeing your tendencies and making those corrections.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you understand where this is coming from, and you don't take it too personally. You basically stop taking things too personally, and then you
Yeah.
see yourself, and it makes a very big difference. But it's possible for everyone, no matter who you are, to come back to this center point and find balance.
Yeah, for sure. And knowing how to move your body too. I think fitness, the way you talked about different activities people could do, different ways to help yourself really enjoy exercise is super helpful. Any final tips, just ways people could transform their relationship with food and just have a more loving relationship with food and their bodies?
So one practice that I work with my clients, and I want everyone to just try this, even for just one meal, is, of course, you want to be seated when you're eating. But after each bite, you want to put your hand down on your lap while you're chewing. So I'm not saying chew slowly, I'm not saying chew fast, I'm just saying have your hand down. And have your hand down, and then before you swallow, you want to notice the texture of the food. Just notice it. And make sure that before you pick up that spoon again for that second bite, that you're exhaling. You haven't held your breath, because very often we eat like this one big inhale and then we eat small bites. So make sure you exhale, like even if it's while you're picking. So that's it. So I'm going to repeat the 3 steps. With every bite, make sure you place your hands back in your lap between the bites. Notice the texture of the food before you swallow. And make sure that you're exhaling in between your bites. And the most subtle, you can still be in conversation and you can still do this. Um, and just try this out without letting your mind come in the way. And when you try this out, you realize you don't want to eat extra. You automatically go for foods because you awaken your intelligence that we all carry, that every species carry. And it happens. You don't know how it happens, but it's the intelligence that's not living in your brain. It's the intelligence that's living in every cell of your body.
I really like those practical tips for eating more mindfully. A lot of times I think we hear people say, oh, eat mindfully, and you don't really know what to do with that, right? And so giving people
Such a
exact things to
loaded,
do.
that is such a loaded expectation. Eat
Yeah.
mindfully. You go put your mind back into this whole thing. No,
Yeah.
I don't want your mind to be in this. Eat just fully, eat heartfully,
Mhm.
eat with your full presence, because your body knows what to do. The animals with zero intellect, and they're still eating right for themselves, with
Yeah.
which have zero, they don't even have a mind, and they can still manage to eat what they need to eat because your body knows what to do. Your body has a mind which is way beyond the mind in your brain. So this just somehow, in that when you exhale and your body goes into that parasympathetic mode, and you're not inhaling and going on and on with that spoon, you tune into your hunger differently. You don't even question, oh, should I eat more? Is this enough for me? You just naturally are drawn to like putting that plate away.
Yeah.
And you feel so safe. You go back to the breast. That's how it feels. I mean, I personally, Catherine, I wake up every morning fantasizing about my lunch.
Mhm.
Like, and I'm so satisfied at lunch. And I just want to tell everybody who's listening that if you're a lunch eater like I am, right, and your problem is, oh, lunch makes me sluggish, just walk for 5, 6, 7 minutes after eating. It's a traditional Ayurvedic practice. And today, like modern science has put so much research out there saying, oh my God, let's know that if you walk for 5 to 15 minutes after food, you digest better and you don't feel that slump. So it's a traditional Ayurvedic practice as well to walk for those 5, 10 minutes after you eat, even if you're at work. Just go for that bathroom break, pace in the hallway, go down, get something for yourself, a warm cup of herbal tea, but learn, this simple practice can go a really long way.
Yeah, again, that's a very practical tip that people can use. And also, I think too, a lot of people I work with have trouble stopping their meals. Like their brain is like, oh, keep going. But getting away from the food, getting out into nature or wherever you walk, just pulls yourself away from the food and back into your life.
Exactly. And you want to take that break, you don't want to go back. But also like when you eat in this manner by putting the spoon down after every morsel, you realize that somehow you're not eating as much as you like, just your body does it. You don't even have to do it.
Yeah. And I love how you talk about the body knowing. So with that transition, I want you to tell everyone about your new book called The Body Knows. And yeah, just tell everyone how they can get that.
Thank you. So my new book, which is out March 11th, is called Your Body Already Knows. And it gives you a framework to tap into that deepest intelligence that your body carries. So a lot of times people say, hey, yeah, but listen to your body. But we've forgotten the language that our body speaks. It is so far, it is so foreign. So I give you a framework and a 21-day plan on how do you understand and start living in this manner, which is aligned with the larger order of the universe. You go back, you get all your rhythms back, your digestion, your hormones, the fluctuating of your weight, the relationship with your food, all of this is in that book. But I've written this book for not people to connect with my intelligence, but to really connect with their own wisdom, which is within them.
Thank you so much for joining me. This has been a very enlightening conversation. I love the unique perspective that you bring.
Thank you so much, Catherine.
You can find links to learn more about Nidhi and get her new book in the show description. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation and that it's given you many inspiring and practical things to think about in terms of your health and your body. A lot of my work does focus more on managing your mind and your brain, so I really love also providing additional information about the body and different ways to go about nourishing it and healing it. I also love Nidhi's ideas about self-compassion, and I hope that will be one of your main takeaways from this conversation. If you want more help ending binge eating, and if you want guidance as you find a way of eating that works uniquely for you as you recover, you can check out the Brain Over Binge resources in the show description. You can learn about my online course, which is only $18.99 per month with no commitment, and you can also check out one-on-one coaching with me or Coach Julie and group coaching with Coach Julie. With the group, you'll get daily coaching on the forum, you'll get weekly group calls with Julie, and you'll also get monthly Q&A calls with me. You can learn more and sign up at brainoverbinge.com/group. Thank you so much for being here today. I'll talk to you again soon, and as always, I want to encourage you and remind you that you have the power to change your brain and live a binge-free life. The Brain Over Binge podcast is produced and recorded by Brain Over Binge Recovery Coaching, LLC. All work is copyrighted by Brain Over Binge Recovery Coaching, LLC, and all rights are reserved. As a disclaimer, the hosts of the Brain Over Binge podcast are not professional counselors or licensed healthcare providers, and this podcast is not a substitute for medical advice or any form of professional therapy. Eating disorders can have serious health consequences, and you are strongly advised to seek medical attention for matters relating to your health. Please get help when you need it, and good luck on your journey.